Hi guys, welcome to our friend chat with Anbu. Today is a Belgian day. We are going to visit a parliament and conference room. Everything what's happening inside the EU region. Right? This is a hub. We are going to visit. We are going to take a photo, and we are going to get so many information. Stay tuned with us. We will have much fun, and it's a Nobel Prize we have seen, and we have seen the coin, everything. Thank you, guys. We'll watch.
Guys, we are entering to NPA information. This side we are going. First time I've been to some parliament area and the two government area. I'm so excited. We'll see a lot. And there is something here. So early 1950s and 60s, they used to do a podcast and they carry one suitcase along with them and they take a podcast. And after that, 1980s in the range, so it's become a wider and it's become more electronic and items. And then again 1978 or in the range. And also, if you look at it, 1962, the filming used to be like this. If you look at it, the picture of European Parliament, right? They started constructing in 1964. The building used to be like this, and if you look at it, it's a vintage car. And then it's become 1970 also. The Schumann building was so established, and it's a 2020. If you look at it, it's become a beautiful. And what we are seeing today is after 2020. So first press conference happened 1970 at Parliament and hosted by President of Franco Maria. So this is a Parliament construction when they happened 1968.
This is data about use of AI by each country in Europe, young people.
Can you please explain here?
You need to guess to which country each percentage corresponds.
Okay. So what is in Belgium?
Belgium is already there for you, it's 74.
So we are in AI era. So Belgium almost 74.4% of the people,
Young people.
young people who use the AI. Thank you.
So you'll see it's a really big room. We can have journalists come in person, but they can also connect online to ask their questions. Our daily press briefings are something we're very proud of. I think the Commission, together with the White House, is the only international organization or state that organizes these press conferences daily. So in terms of transparency, access for journalists, it's something that is really important to us. When you're inside, you'll look up and you'll see that all around you there are booths. These booths allow interpretation of our press conferences in up to all languages of the EU, as well as the language of foreign heads of state or government who come in. So, for example, if we have the leader of the United Arab Emirates who comes in, we will also translate. We will also have the press conference translated in Arabic. So when you're inside, you're free to walk wherever you want in the rooms. You can take pictures. You'll see there's a colleague like me and you who can also answer questions. And yes, enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are sitting in the European press conference, and here you'll get this headphone. And if you see here, you'll get an option to change the language. So you can choose your language, like which one you want, French, English, or Dutch. And here you can increase the volume. And there they will explain you about this Europe Day or European Commission. They will explain all the stories, how the voting and all will happen here.
No, whenever some meeting happens, when they speak there, based on the language you choose, you will hear here.
Right, yeah. So that's what, like when they speak in their own local language, if you're not able to understand their language, so you can switch your language here, like which language you want to hear it. And this is specifically used for the press conference for the reporters to understand what they are saying. we have observed just now. So here, if you see here, if you pull this, you'll get a mic. So this mic is used for the reporters if they have any question to ask to this European people. So you can ask from here.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm representing India. I'm in UU region, and thanks for the opportunity. Thanks.
So basically, in Europe, there are over 400 centers where when citizens can go and explain what Europe does. They do some citizen engagement activity. They work with school and all that. So this is the display where you can find all the Euro Direct in Europe. And what we are doing here, we are inviting visitors that come to our stand to check which is the one that's closest to their place and to see if they know it, and in case maybe in the future they can go and visit.
The European Commission. Probably notice we are at -1 here in Berlemo. Just for information, there's I think -5 floors, so there's a lot of floors under. There's parking, but also regarding our service, we have archives, basically tapes and VHS tapes that we store at -4. So the building is quite impressive, and the service itself is quite big. It's actually the biggest in the European Commission. Now you're gonna ask what we do. We are a team of photographers, cameramen, and then a lot of other technicians around it that are supposed to film and take photos of the President von der Leyen and of the commissioners in order to send the political message up to you, to the European citizens. So we are responsible for making sure that whatever decisions are being taken in councils, in charge of sending the political message that impact the European citizens. And how do we do that? We basically film the commissioner, the president. It can be press conferences, councils, reunions that happen in New York at the United Nations, or any kind of visit that the president might do, whether to America, to Trump, or to China, or to India most recently, because they signed a treaty with India and so on. So that's in short what we do. So we provide raw material. We work a lot with journalists, and we need to make sure that this message arrives to you, to the public. How do we do that? We have several means. The first one is through the website of the Commission. It's called Audiovisual Portal. So if you type on Google Audiovisual Europa, you're gonna find our website. What we do there is basically it's a bit like YouTube. We have live transmissions, and we have two channels. You can see them here. There's the blue, how we call it, and the green. Basically, it's EBS and EBS Plus, European Broadcasting Service, and it acts like a grid. Basically, we define in advance what's going to happen at what time. So, just to be clear, everything that you're going to see today is not live. We made it for you so that you see a bit how it will happen on a normal day. But on a regular day, we have a lot of live transmissions happening from 7 in the morning up to midnight, or maybe even during the night, if, for example, when the line goes to Japan or to America. It acts like a grid I was telling you. So you can see there's something at 7:30. Over there, there's something at 8:15. Basically, we have an agenda for where the commissioners are going, or what the councils are, or what the press conferences are, and we put them on the two channels to be broadcasted. And then we transmit them live, just like YouTube. After the live ended, we have to make them available to the public as VOD, just like on YouTube, so you can watch it days later. And that's why we have the audiovisual portal. You can watch the videos just like on YouTube. We are also in charge of archiving all this. So the 50 years since the service exists, we created 800,000 photos and around 2 million videos. We are not deleting anything because in the spirit of transparency, everything has to be public and to remain public to the audience, to the citizens. So if you go on our website and you start searching, you're gonna find videos and photos from 40 years ago. They are black and white, of course, and they are digitalized. But the idea is that we don't delete anything, and everything stays basically forever. So we also make sure. That's why I mentioned that we have archives at -4, because we digitalized a lot of the footage, but there is still a lot that is on old VHS tape and all those audio tapes. If you remember, for those of you that are not very young, maybe you remember when we were young, there were these tapes that we were all watching. Nowadays, it's less and less. Even CDs, there's no more CDs. In that sense, we made a small museum that you can watch there on the left. You can see some VH tapes, CDs that no longer exist, some old cameras that my colleagues used to use in the past. And then as you go to the right, it transitions more to digital camera and more toward nowadays. The second way to transmit the information to you is through social media. So you follow the account of the European institution on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you will see images. It can be of the politician, of the president, or of the parliamentary, or it can be campaigns. So if there's a campaign for, just gonna say LGBT rights or against cyberbullying and so on, we produce that kind of video. We give it to our colleagues in the social media, and they publish them on the social media networks. This way, we make sure that it arrives to you. It's targeting, of course, mostly younger people, depending on the platform. The third way to promote our content is through televisions. We have partnerships with televisions all across the world, mostly in Europe. There's satellite antenna in the building here, and we send and we receive signal to televisions. So I don't know if are you still watching the news? Is there, personally, I don't have a TV, but if you're still watching the news, you can see some footage from the parliaments or from the institutions. Most of the time, it's coming from us. We have people who are filming it. Still watching TV? I don't. But and you see any kind of footage from the institutions, any kind of parliament, council, or commission, it's coming from colleagues that went there and filmed it. And then we give that material. You have to press on the button on your right side. Yeah. We give that material to the television to use it. We have a way to track, so we know at any moment who used it, who used our content and for how long. And of course, we try to improve to see what are the most important subjects. As you can imagine, when there is something about money, health, when it was about COVID, we had huge spikes of visitors coming to our platforms to see what's happening. On a daily basis, maybe the political events are less interesting for you. One more point that I want to make sure it's clear for everybody. We are not a news agency. We are not writing news. We are providing raw material to the European citizens and mostly to the journalists. They are taking the content from us in a raw format, video or photo, and then it's up to them to make articles, to make TV journals. But we are not doing anything else than providing the raw material. We don't have any point of view of other than providing the material. And then it's of course up to the citizens to interpret it. Okay, we're just gonna wait for this group to go. We're gonna go now to visit the red, called the master control room. Feel free to take selfies, photos, there's absolutely no problem. I'll explain briefly what we do here, and then if you have questions, don't hesitate. As you can see, there's many screens. Why is that? Because we receive signal footage from various sources. Again, this is a simulation. It's not right now live, but on a regular day, we might receive signal from the European Parliament in Strasbourg. Then the President von der Leyen might be right there in the press conference room that maybe you saw it. It's here at -1 as well, giving a speech. Then you might have a European Council just across the street with the presidents of the different states coming. You might have Lagarde in Frankfurt from the European Central Bank, and then you might have a case that is being judged right now at the European Court of Justice. So all this is input that we take. As I said, in the spirit of transparency, we want to make sure that this is all being made public to you, to the audience, and to the journalists. And then we decide here which feed goes at what time on the schedule that I mentioned just before. So you see, this is a reproduction of the green and the blue. That's the blue and that's the green. And then my colleagues decide, okay, at 8, we're gonna put this one. At 7, we're gonna put this one. At 3 p.m., we're gonna put that one. And then on the blue, maybe we take this one and we're gonna put it on the blue. So basically, we try to put everything on the schedule so that all the transmissions arrive to the public. We have 2 channels because initially we started with 1, but the volume was so high that we need to create a second one. Right now, we are in a good condition, meaning it's very rare that we have overlapping transmissions and we cannot put on one or the other channel. So 2 channels is more or less enough for all the live transmissions that we have. In case there is not enough space, because let's say there's a press conference at 1 and another one starting at 1:10 and another one at 1:20, what we can do, it's record it and we will transmit it later. It's not live, but at least we make sure that it arrives to the audience one way or another. So to ensure that all this works, there's a team here that works on a daily basis. Nathan, my colleague, is actually working here. On a normal day, there's 5 people, depending on how busy the day is. I must also say that depending on the events and where they happen, it can be that we start working at 6 in the morning and where we end at 2 a.m. Because if it's in New York, you can imagine it's a different time here. If it's in China or in India, it's a different time here. So we are not really a 9 to 5 job. It's more like on demand and whatever is needed. So these are the computers and the software. We turn them on so that you see a bit. It's actually the software that we use on a daily basis. Of course, I'm not going to show you how it works and so on, but imagine that on a daily basis, 5 people are here around and they all work together with colleagues in this studio and decide what goes where in contact with television and journalists as well. Maybe one fun fact is that there's some screens on top.
I was going to ask, why do you have screens on the ceiling?
Yeah, many groups ask because working here from 6 a.m. until late, it can be a bit heavy because there's no natural light. So we turn them on and we project the weather from outside. So if it's blue sky, it's going to be the blue sky. And that creates a bit of the impression that you are not really inside this bunker. So, yeah. But if you have questions, we have to wait a bit. Actually, 1-4 is the right word because we didn't have experience. We are not a television. This is not a TV station. We are much smaller and we didn't have a lot of experience. And if you compare how it looked like with how it looks like nowadays, you will see there's really a big difference and it really evolved. And you will see also photos from colleagues that work here in the 1970, 1980 and so on. So it's quite interesting to see the history. So yeah, we can go. Yeah. 2 TV studios. This is the main one, the bigger actually. We refurbished it recently. You might feel that it smells like new because it was we reopened it 2 weeks ago. Right? What's happening here? 2 things basically. Either the President von der Leyen or a commissioner comes to do a recording to send a message. How does she do that? It's very simple. She puts herself in front of the camera. That's the camera. That's the prompter where she will read the message that she has to send, unless she knows it by heart. I'm saying she, but it can be a commissioner, so it can be a male as well. But I'm going to use the word she. All right. And then you see in the back, there's a green. Why is there green? Because we can simulate and we can put whatever we want. If you pay attention, that's you in reality, but that's you as if you were outside the building, outside the Parliament, but obviously you're not outside, you're inside. So I'm gonna do a bit of magic here. I do take this. In a nutshell, if I'm here in front of the camera, behind me can be anything. You can be in India, you can be in Romania, you can be in Washington, and that's a bit how we do the recording. Then there's the lights, and then there's the sound. So there's technicians, and actually there's a colleague of mine who's moving the camera right now. You don't see him, but he's there in the left. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
The voice the girl.
Yes, they're in charge of making sure that the lights are correct, the sound is fine, that the camera is moving, and it's well focused and centered and so on. Sorry? No, it's upstairs. You don't see
Upstairs.
Yeah. Also behind these walls, there is interpreters. So usually the message is in English, but if you want it in French, Italian, and so on, then we might call people that will translate. And then the people who is giving the speech is trying to put a headset in her ear, and she will hear another language. So that's the first use of the studio. Other than that, we can turn the camera and we can film that table behind. So come and see it if you want. And you can have a debate here. You can see on the screen, this is a recording that happened a few days ago. Basically, you have 2 or more people, you can put more chairs, and then we film them. We're gonna turn this camera, we turn the lights to make sure that they go on the persons, and we will film, and it's gonna look like that. That's 4 people around the table, and there's a debate happening right here, and we are supposed to film it. The studio can be rented sorry, not rented. It can be taken for free because it's public money. So anyone, especially if you work in journalism and in media, you can make a request. You just go on our website, Instagram. We might not. So if there is a reason behind, a real reason, I think it's gonna pass. But if it's just for a selfie, then no.
Thanks to everyone who's watching the video. I enjoyed thoroughly and it was a great experience. It's one of the great experience which I had. Thanks to everyone.